Alright, day 10 of Japan is over, and today we went to visit Osaka since pretty much all of us are from Kyoto or living in Kyoto at the moment, going to the same school, and we went with a group of friends, total of 8 people. And I feel like I learned a lot of sort of lessons that I'll definitely keep in mind the next time we have a group hangout somewhere in Japan. And I do think that these lessons I learned are pretty important to make things run smoothly and make sure everybody's having mostly a good time and keeping things in check mostly too, just in case, because for us, we wanted to visit Osaka from Kyoto and then come back to Kyoto because that's where we're all staying. So that means coming back in time and making sure nobody misses their bus or misses the chance to take the bus or station back to their place. It would suck to have to walk like an hour. Okay, so let's get to the tips. Tip number 1, make sure that everyone knows to come on time. I know this is a super simple one, but obviously when you hang out with more, or when you're planning a trip with more than just a few people, it gets exponentially harder to account for all the variables each person brings in. So even if one person is late, that definitely can hold everyone back. And in our case, there were 2 people that were a bit late. Not too late. It was just, I suppose, 25 minutes. I don't know if you consider that to be very late, but it was enough to definitely make us feel like a contingency plan needs to be made. Let's say if someone is 15 or 20 minutes late, then they're just gonna have to take the train by themselves and meet us at the meetup point in Osaka later. That way people who actually made it on time don't have to wait around, and they get to experience more of what was intended because they were actually on time. Definitely sucks for the person who's late, but they definitely have to make sure that they're on time. And I suppose another way of actually fixing this issue is just telling everyone to meet earlier, just in case. So for us, we wanted to leave Kyoto Station to Osaka by 10, and I probably should have said something along the lines of oh, let's meet there at 9:40 instead. And I think in a way, it would have at least helped with the timetable, but still has the same effect with the people who come on time versus the people who are late. So it's really up to you how you want to structure it, but I think both techniques work pretty well. One is there's a clear consequence if you're late, so don't be late. And another one is just planning things to be earlier just in case someone is late. Yeah. And then tip number 2, I think this one for me, I don't think was an issue because I naturally am a map and time person. So I should say the tip first. Tip number 2, always have someone who's in charge of where you're going and also keeping track of time. And I suppose also knowing exactly where to go and what you guys want to do. Having an actual solid plan is very, very helpful when you have a big group. So for me, I'm pretty much the map person, or I was the map person today, and I just helped navigate us to wherever. And if you are the map person, make sure you bring an extra charger, a battery bank, just in case, because at least for me, my phone runs out really fast when I use my maps. So the battery bank is kind of a must. Always sort of have that person in the group that's very, very helpful, and it makes sure it ensures everyone's actually going to the right place. And yeah, it'd be a good idea to get used to it as well, to just have each person be able to be the map person if necessary, but always designate someone just in case. So I would make sure everyone gets out in the right exit, even if we were separate in the train, and so on. That's tip number 2. And then finally, tip number 3, food. I think it would have been much better if we had prepared what restaurants we wanted to eat at beforehand, especially since we do have 2 people who are vegetarian, so that also makes things a bit more complex with the eating decisions. Not that much more complex, but it definitely limits our options a bit more and makes it more important that we actually do find places to eat at beforehand. So what ended up happening for us is we just found stuff on the maps, or at least I did, and then I found a ramen spot, and it ended up being closed, so we had to eat somewhere else that was nearby. So we chose to eat Yoshinoya just out of curiosity. In California, it's not bad. It's pretty good overall for fast food. In Japan, it's also not bad and pretty good for fast food, but not the best thing. And I feel like we could have eaten at a better place since we were at Osaka. But we just didn't plan well, and places that say that they're open sometimes can be closed. So I guess calling would have been a great idea too, even though none of us are like extremely comfortable with that because they'll be talking in Japanese, but it's as easy as asking like, or if they don't answer, then you know they might be closed. And if they do answer, you can just ask for their hours, like nanji ni aite imasu ka? I guess like that could work, and they would just tell you the time. But yeah, so I guess that would have been smarter overall. But at the same time, I don't know. I think calling also has like issues with your phone line and how much you pay and everything like that. So yeah, I don't know. I have to check into that, but depends on what service you use. Anyways, tip number 4, understand that things will be slower than you think they will be, or things will take more time than you think they will. Mostly because the bigger your group is, and for us, again, it was 8 people, the more everyone sort of expresses their own desire to do certain things. So some people like spending more time with the sites and seeing things. Some people like spending more time in the souvenir shops. That was definitely some of my friends that I've met here. And each of these things takes time and should be somewhat accounted for. I do think that we spent way more time in each spot than I had first imagined. So by the end of it, well, we went to Osaka Castle in the beginning, explored around. We took some time like eating the takoyaki and then the 10 yen big coin thingy, and then spending time in the souvenir shop a little bit and waiting around. Lots of waiting around and just making sure that everyone sticks together as well. I do think it might have been smarter to just like designate a spot and time to be like, okay, let's just meet back up here at this time. Everyone can do their own thing if they want, but it also depends on the people, like whether or not they want to stick together or not. And for us, I think for the most part, like most of us did want to, but of course everyone sort of does their own thing. So just sort of account for that, and also realize things will probably not go according to plan fully. And then the second place we visited was the Osaka Aquarium. I keep forgetting the exact name, but it was a really nice site. And for me, like I spent way more time in the jellyfish section than everyone else. So like they sort of disappeared while I was in the jellyfish section, and I was like wondering where everyone went. So that's just an example of like how everyone will sort of spend more time on the parts that they enjoy the most. And that's just a natural thing. Tip number 5, this is especially if you're traveling like through train lines and in Japan, make sure everyone has their own like Suica card and that everything is settled with it and there's enough like money beforehand. Because for us, this was like oddly an issue. I feel like I don't encounter it too much, but you know, the bigger the group is, the more people there are, the more issues there might be. So we definitely missed a few trains where we would have made it had the Suica card and people's funds in them were like secured and good. But yeah, that's just a quick tip. Just make sure that you know how to use your card properly and you have funds in them. That's it. And now we'll just talk about the final tip, which is related to a previous tip. Like the number 1 rule is essentially to just make sure everyone is enjoying themselves. So everyone will have their different exact like desires and will express it in different ways. But in the end, it's really about everyone getting to have fun and enjoy the day. So none of the rules really matter unless like enforcing them makes everyone happier and makes everyone have a better time. So it's sort of like the rule above all other rules. If somebody wants to buy a souvenir, then give them the time to do so. And if somebody, like for instance me, where when we were eating stuff at Dotonburi, I wanted to eat at a sushi place that I usually go to every time I'm there. And I did, and 2 others joined me on a whim. And there was no queue at the moment, but I know that for that place, it's near like the angry guy with the hand holding a sushi. Not that place exactly, but like it's near there. That place sometimes can get like busy quick and then not be busy. It's kind of interesting. But I'm glad my 2 friends joined me and we just quickly ate. Originally, like we were gonna wait around to have the others join if some of them might have wanted to, but we were running out of time. We just wanted to eat, and it's just like, just do the thing that you want, because if you waited and like there's no more time left and you couldn't eat, that would have just sucked. And of course, communication is definitely important. So when you guys are separate, like sharing your location, letting each other know like how long you're going to be in that location, stuff like that. All of that would be very, very helpful and handy to know how to do beforehand. So those are just some things that I feel like I've learned today from the group event of visiting Osaka, and today was definitely a very fun day. Traveling in big groups can certainly be a challenge, but they can be rewarding when everyone seems to be overall having a good time. And that's pretty much it for this video. I apologize for the way the audio sounds or like how I'm talking. I just overall cannot be very loud because I'm doing this recording in the share house and there's just like, I really don't want to be a disturbance. So I'm just trying my best to be as quiet as possible. But perhaps I should try to do more recordings during non-sleeping hours. Okay, that's pretty much it, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one.